Hello everyone. I'm a doctor who has spent over 40 years in this field, and today I'd like to speak not about medicine or treatments, but about something far more personal, a topic that has quietly followed me throughout my career. Over the decades, I have been asked repeatedly, "Doctor, after witnessing so many deaths, are you afraid of dying?" I've kept my answer private for a long time, but now I feel it's time to share not just an explanation, but a heartfelt reflection on what I have seen and felt during those silent, sacred moments when life slips away and perhaps something else begins. I'd like to share a story that might help illuminate why I no longer view death as a dark finale, but rather as a gentle return. I won't be using scientific jargon or aligning myself with any particular religious doctrine. Instead, I speak from decades spent sitting at the bedside of patients in their final hours, witnessing moments that textbooks cannot capture and theories never fully explain. There is a truth that emerges quietly in the stillness when a person's last breath is taken. A truth that words struggle to encompass. I have seen hundreds of farewells. No matter who the person was, their age, their life story, there was always a common thread. In those final moments, I sensed that the person wasn't vanishing into an empty void. Instead, they seemed to be returning to a place of familiarity, as if they were going home. Not home in a literal physical sense, but home in a deeper, almost spiritual way. A place that feels like the origin of the soul. Even as the atmosphere in the room shifts into a quiet stillness, there is often a subtle warmth that lingers, a reassurance that the individual is not lost but simply moving toward where they belong. I remember many moments like these, each leaving an indelible mark on my heart. I have often taken a deep, slow breath, not out of anxiety, but in quiet gratitude for the unspoken farewell unfolding before me. In those moments, I have felt a gentle release, as if the patient's struggle had eased, and they were finally allowed to return to a place they once knew. It is a sensation that is hard to describe, a feeling that conveys more than any scientific measurement ever could. This is why I no longer fear death. Instead, I see it as a reuniting, a homecoming to a place we have all left behind, even if we have long forgotten its contours. There have been times when I've also felt this mysterious presence at the very beginning of life. I have witnessed the tender chaos of a newborn's first cry, the rush of raw, unfiltered life entering the world. In those moments of birth, when a baby takes its first uncertain steps into the light, there is an overwhelming sense of wonder and expectation. There is something profound in the newborn's eyes, a depth that belies the fact that they have just arrived. It is as if, in their silence, they carry the memory of where they came from, hinting at an origin that is both timeless and deeply familiar. Reflecting on these experiences, I see a remarkable symmetry between birth and death. They are not polar opposites but mirror images of each other. Two essential passages in the endless spiral of existence. Both involve a letting go. At birth, we leave behind the familiar confines of the womb to embrace a vast, unknown world, and at death, we let go of the physical form to return to something more profound. These moments of transition remind me that life is not a straight line with a clear beginning and end, but a continuous, winding path that circles back on itself. Perhaps neither birth nor death is an ending at all, but rather two sides of the same coin. A return to a state of being that we all once knew. I recall one particular day when I had just bid farewell to a patient who had been under my care for many weeks. He was more than just a case or a name in a file. He had become a part of my daily life, someone with whom I had built a silent, unspoken bond. That afternoon, after leaving the hospital, I found myself sitting quietly in my car as dusk gently settled. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, allowing myself a moment of reflection. In that stillness, I silently whispered my goodbye, thinking, "You did well. Now you can rest." In that very instant, I was enveloped by a wave of warmth, an inexplicable feeling that suggested someone or something was reaching back to comfort me. It wasn't a dramatic vision or a thunderous message. It was a soft, reassuring nudge, echoing exactly what I had wanted to say. That memory has stayed with me ever since. It was not grief that overwhelmed me afterward, but a profound sense of calm and relief, almost as if the patient had already found his way home. Even though I continued to deeply for every life I encountered, I found that in these moments of finality, there is often a sense of reunion rather than loss. The fear of the unknown gives way to a quiet trust, a recognition that is not an abrupt severance but a gradual return to a deeper state of being. I share these reflections not to offer definitive answers or to convince you of any one truth. Rather, I wish to extend a possibility, a vision of death that is not cloaked in fear but bathed in a gentle light of familiarity. Even if we do not fully understand what awaits us beyond the physical realm, perhaps we can learn to see it as a natural part of our journey, a crossing point that brings us closer to something ancient and inherently comforting. In moments of meditation or quiet prayer, I have often sensed that same serene presence. Whether I was watching the final moments of a patient or celebrating of a new life, there is a thread of continuity that binds us all, a soft, persistent reminder that both departures and arrivals are intertwined in the tapestry of existence. This recognition has taught me that the true essence of life is not measured by the absence or presence of death, but by the quiet moments of connection that make it all worthwhile. So, as I continue my work, I hold on to this vision. I no longer see death as a fearful ending, but as a gentle passage, a crossing into a state of being that, despite its mystery, feels like coming back home. It is a perspective that brings a certain comfort, a way of embracing both life's fleeting beginnings and its inevitable closures without the shadow of dread. When the time finally comes for me, I hope to meet it with the same calm, with the same inner warmth I've felt alongside my patients. I imagine taking one final, slow breath and releasing not with desperation but with quiet acceptance, a serene letting go that is more a return than a loss. In that moment, I trust that there will be no frantic struggle against the inevitable. Instead, I anticipate a soft arrival into a state of deep, abiding peace, a place where I have always belonged, even if I had forgotten its name for a time. Thank you for allowing me to share these personal reflections. I do not claim to hold all the answers, and I respect that each of you may view life and death in your own way. My hope is that by talking openly about these experiences, we can all find a measure of comfort in the realization that the boundaries between life and death are not as stark as they might seem. Perhaps, in embracing both the mystery and the continuity of our existence, we can learn to live and eventually to let go, with a little more grace.